Imagine for a moment a very simple shift. Instead of assuming that life is mostly against this, imagine acting from a quiet premise that life is basically for this. Not in a naive, nothing bad ever happens way, but as a deep orientation. Delays are not punishments, redirections are not curses, and uncertainty is not proof of abandonment. Underneath all the noise, there is a basic friendliness woven into reality. Most nervous systems were not trained to live from that place. They were trained to expect the hit, to prepare for humiliation, to be suspicious of every good thing. Act as if everything aligns for you is an invitation to try on a different posture, not denying reality, but walking through it as someone who believes that support, meaning, and correction are secretly present, even when there is no immediate proof. There is a lot of confusion around this idea. Many here act as if and imagine pretending, faking, putting on a mask of forced positivity. Emotional and spiritual maturity cannot be built on denial. Pain exists. Injustice exists. Trauma exists. The point is not to decorate a wound with glitter. The deeper act as if is something else. Behaving as someone who trusts that life is not fundamentally an enemy, while fully acknowledging what hurts. It is a way of moving through the world with practical faith. Faith here is not blind obedience to a doctrine. It is the daily decision to lean toward trust instead of permanent inner war. A good starting question is, what is the default assumption about life that runs quietly in the background? For some, it is everything ends badly. For others, good things never last. For others, if something seems easy, there must be a trap. These assumptions are not random. They usually come from concrete history. Unpredictable caregivers, shattered promises, sudden losses, systems where joy was always followed by punishment. The nervous system learned to protect itself by expecting the worst. From that place, act as if everything aligns sounds like a dangerous joke. If there is relaxation, the universe will hit harder next time. The first act of wisdom is to respect where this suspicion comes from. Yet living permanently as if life is a hostile force slowly drains the soul. Every delay becomes a verdict. Every no becomes humiliation. Every unknown becomes catastrophe in waiting. The body stays in permanent fight or flight. The mind cannot rest. One quiet way to experiment with act as if is not to adopt a huge metaphysical belief all at once, but to adjust the inner question. Instead of why is this against me again, the question becomes if, just for this moment, nothing is against me, what else could this mean? This does not instantly make everything pleasant. It simply opens a small window where other interpretations are allowed to exist. Acting as if, at a deeper level, is not about shouting affirmations over panic. It is about choosing behaviors that belong to someone who feels fundamentally supported, and then letting the nervous system slowly catch up. Consider 3 levels where this can be practiced: how inner life is narrated, how daily choices are made, and how obstacles are interpreted. On the inner narration level, many live with a constant commentary of doom. Of course this will fail. This is typical. Nothing ever works out. This commentary is often spoken as if it were objective news. In a deeper act as if, the inner narrator is invited to speak from a different assumption. Somehow, this will be used. For example, when something breaks, the old script says, "See? Nothing is safe." The new script might say, "This is inconvenient and painful, and also, there is a way through that is not visible yet." It is not pretending that loss is fun. It is refusing to declare that loss is the whole story. On the level of daily choices, acting as if everything aligns means making decisions like someone who expects companionship from life, not constant betrayal. Someone who believes life conspires in their favor still looks at budgets, reads contracts, and locks doors at night. Trust is not an excuse to abandon common sense. The difference appears in the energy behind choices. For example, sending an application from the assumption, "No one will read this anyway," creates one kind of presence in the words. Sending the same application from, "If this door is right, life will help it open. If not, something else is moving underneath," creates another kind of presence. The action is similar. The inner place it comes from is not. Obstacles offer perhaps the clearest training ground. Everyone has stories where something that looked like disaster later revealed itself as redirection. the job not received that made space for a better fit, the relationship that ended before it could do greater harm, the missed flight that avoided being present in a crisis. In hindsight, these are named blessings in disguise. The deeper act as if asks, what if this lens is applied in real time, not only years later? When a plan collapses, the immediate nervous system response might be shock or anger. That is natural. After the first wave, there is a choice point. Either the mind settles into "this proves that nothing works," or it leans into "this hurts." And also, there is information and redirection here that will only be visible later. This is where practical faith appears. Practical faith is faith expressed through behavior, not just belief. Someone can say, "Everything works out for the highest good," and still act every day like life is a constant enemy, clinging, micromanaging, refusing any rest. Another person may not have sophisticated spiritual language, but chooses repeatedly to take the next kind step, to say yes to opportunities that feel aligned, to leave situations that consistently crush the soul, to ask for help when drowning. That person is living act as if in the most concrete way, assuming there is support enough to justify moving, even without guarantees. A common fear is that this posture will lead to passivity. If everything aligns, why bother trying? But deeper trust is not resignation. It is co-creation. Acting as if life is supportive tends to create more action, not less, because the cost of trying no longer feels like total annihilation. Mistakes become part of the route, instead of final proof of worthlessness. Saying yes to experiments becomes possible because the inner story is not, "If this fails, it means this is fundamentally doomed," but "If this fails, feedback has been collected. Something is being adjusted in a larger pattern that cannot yet be seen." Of course, questions arise. What about very real injustice, trauma, systems that hurt? Act as if everything aligns does not ask anyone to baptize abuse as good or to stay in situations that crush their humanity. Sometimes the deepest expression of trust is leaving. Leaving a toxic relationship is trusting that love and safety can exist elsewhere. Leaving a depleting job is trusting that survival and contribution can be found in other forms. Saying no to disrespect is trusting that dignity is more aligned with the soul than unlimited tolerance. In those moments, acting as if life aligns means believing that support will appear on the other side of a hard boundary, even if the bridge is still invisible from here. Another subtle aspect is how this posture transforms inner talk at the smallest scale. Something unexpected happens, a payment is delayed, a message is never answered, a project slows down. In the old setting, the immediate sentence is, "Here we go again, it was stupid to hope." In a deeper setting, one possible sentence becomes, "I do not see the pattern yet, but I choose to believe this is part of something rearranging in my favor." This sentence, repeated honestly, sends a different signal to the nervous system. It introduces a small amount of safety where there would otherwise be pure alarm. Over months, these micro-sentences accumulate. A new baseline forms. There is a difference between pretending to be calm and actually being reoriented. Pretending says, "Nothing is wrong, everything is fine," while the body shakes. True reorientation can say, "Yes, this is scary. Yes, the body is tight." And also, there is a deeper layer that remains held, even now. This does not demand that fear vanish. It allows fear to exist inside a larger frame of meaning. It is similar to standing in a storm while remembering that the planet still carries everything, that gravity still holds, that seasons still turn. The storm is not denied. It is contextualized. At some point, the idea emerges. If the outer world is a mirror, what is it currently reflecting? This is not about blaming victims for their circumstances. It is about observing the patterns between inner assumptions and recurring experiences. Someone who always expects abandonment may unconsciously choose distant people, test connections until they break, or reject stability when it appears. Someone who deeply assumes support exists will likely notice and accept helping hands more quickly, speak up when drowning, and interpret kindness as normal instead of suspicious. Acting as if everything aligns gently shifts what is even seen as possible. None of this can be forced overnight. A nervous system shaped by years of chaos will not suddenly feel safe because of one new belief. Act as if here is best approached as training, like learning to walk again after an injury. The first steps are small, shaky, artificial. That is not hypocrisy, it is rehabilitation. One day, the exercise might be: choose one small situation and consciously respond as if life is on this side. Maybe it is a minor delay, a miscommunication, a changed plan. Instead of rehearsing the old story, a new response is tried. A breath, a softer sentence, a question such as, how could this also be working for this, even if unseen? Over time, the muscles of trust grow. There is a quiet power in people who live this way. They are not always the loudest or the most visibly spiritual, but something about their presence feels grounded and strangely confident. When things go well, they are grateful without clutching. When things go wrong, they bend without snapping. They do not rush to blame a cruel universe for every difficulty, nor do they take all credit for every success. They move with an underlying assumption that there is a conversation happening between their choices and a larger intelligence. That assumption shapes their posture, their tone of voice, their timing, the risks they take, the love they dare to offer. Acting as if everything aligns does not mean everything will look comfortable. It means that even difficult seasons are used. Seeds break in the dark before rising. Muscles strengthen under resistance. Boundaries appear through friction. In many spiritual traditions, there is some version of this idea. What feels like exile often becomes the place of deepest encounter. What feels like loss often creates the capacity to receive more truthfully later. When this is remembered, despair loses some of its finality. Sorrow is still sorrow, but not the end of the story. From this place, one last question can be asked. If it were truly known that life tends to align in the long run, what would change immediately? Which conversations would no longer be postponed? Which creative impulses would finally receive a first step? Which relationships would be gently released? Which dreams would be allowed to exit the drawer and become experiments in the real world? Acting as if does not wait to feel completely safe inside. It chooses to live a little more like someone who trusts and lets the inner world slowly be educated by the results. If this exploration of act as if everything aligns for you resonates, that itself is a sign that some deeper part already longs to move from permanent self-defense into more practical trust. For more content on emotional healing, nervous system work, spiritual psychology, and the art of walking with life instead of only fighting it, subscribing keeps these reflections close. Liking this video helps this message find others who are tired of assuming that life is always against them. Sharing it with someone living in constant inner battle may offer a new lens. And if one area of life came to mind while listening, a place where acting as if life is for you would change everything, naming it in the comments can be the first conscious step in practicing that trust on purpose.